was a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where parents felt safe leaving their children with a babysitter. But on the night of July 15th, 1974, a 17-year-old girl named Janice walked into a house she would never leave. Alive. Janice was a popular high school student who babysat for extra cash. That night she was watching the Thompson family's 2 young children. The parents left for a dinner party, promising to be back by midnight. Around 9 p.m., Janice called her best friend, laughing about how the kids were already asleep and she was bored. At 10:30 p.m., a neighbor reported hearing a scream coming from the Thompson house. When the police arrived, they found the front door wide open, the TV still on, and the children unharmed but crying in their beds. Janice was gone. The investigation revealed a series of chilling details. Footprints in the mud outside the basement window. A torn piece of Janice's sweater caught on the fence. A handwritten note left on the kitchen table that read, "I'll take good care of her." For weeks, the town was gripped by fear. Parents stopped hiring babysitters, and rumors spread about a shadow man seen lurking near playgrounds. Then, a break in the case came when a local handyman, Carl Meeks, was arrested for trespassing. In his van, police found Janice's hairpin and a map with the Thompson house circled. Carl confessed to kidnapping Janice but refused to say where she was. He claimed she was safe and that he loved her. The police searched his property and found a hidden cellar beneath his shed. Inside, they discovered Janice's diary, detailing her final days. She wrote about hearing footsteps above her, the sound of a shovel digging, and her desperate hope that someone would find her. Janice's body was never found. To this day, Carl Meeks sits in prison, still refusing to reveal where he buried Janice. The Thompson house was eventually torn down, but neighbors swear they still hear a faint scream on quiet summer nights. And if you walk past the empty lot where the house once stood, you might feel a cold hand brush against your shoulder, as if Janice is still waiting for someone to take her home. In the summer of 1988, a stretch of deserted highway in Nevada became known as the Road of No Return. Over 6 months, 5 people vanished without a trace. The only clue? A single word scrawled in the dirt near their abandoned cars. Mine. The first victim was a trucker named Roy who radioed for help after his rig broke down. When police arrived, his truck was empty, the engine still running. A trail of footprints led into the desert, but they stopped abruptly, as if Roy had been lifted into the air. The next victim was a young couple, Mark and Lisa, who were driving to Las Vegas. Their car was found idling on the side of the road, the doors wide open. A half-eaten sandwich sat on the dashboard, and Lisa's purse was still in the passenger seat. But Mark and Lisa were gone. The police were baffled. There were no signs of struggle, no tire tracks from another vehicle, and no witnesses. Then, a survivor came forward. Her name was Sarah, and she had been hitchhiking when a man in a black pickup truck offered her a ride. Sarah described the man as tall and thin, with a voice like gravel underfoot. He drove her to a remote cabin where she escaped through a window. But before she ran, she saw something that haunted her. A wall covered in Polaroids of the missing victims, each with a date written below. The police raided the cabin but found it empty. The Polaroids were gone, and the only evidence left behind was a single word carved into the wooden floor. Mine. The kidnapper was never caught. Today, the highway is still open, but locals avoid it after dark. Some say they've seen a black pickup truck following cars, its headlights flickering like eyes in the night. And if you ever find yourself stranded on that lonely stretch of road, don't look behind you, because the highway phantom is always watching, and he doesn't like to share. In 1992, A small town in Oregon was terrorized by a series of disappearances. All the victims were young girls, and all of them loved dolls. But what the police found in the killer's basement was worse than anyone could have imagined. The first girl to vanish was 8-year-old Emily. She was last seen walking home from a friend's house, clutching her favorite doll, a porcelain figure named Clara. Her parents reported her missing that evening, and the entire town joined the search. Days later, another girl disappeared, then another. Each time a doll was left behind at the scene, its face smashed and its body mutilated. The police began to suspect a pattern. The kidnapper was targeting girls who owned specific types of dolls. The break in the case came when a local antique dealer, Mr. Grayson, was arrested for shoplifting. During a search of his home, police discovered a hidden room filled with dolls, hundreds of them, arranged in eerie scenes. There was a tea party, a wedding, and even a funeral. But the most disturbing discovery was in the basement. There, the police found life-sized dolls made from the bodies of the missing girls. Each one had been carefully preserved, dressed in elaborate costumes, and posed in glass cases. Mr. Grayson confessed to kidnapping the girls and turning them into his collection. He claimed they were happier this way, frozen in time as perfect dolls. Mr. Grayson died in prison, but his dolls were never destroyed. They were placed in storage, where they remain to this day. Some say the dolls still move at night, their glass eyes following you as you walk past. And if you listen closely, you might hear a faint whisper, "Play with me, forever."